The following program is an opinion program. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of this program are not the opinions of the management, staff, and advertisers of this station. Please direct all criticism, concern, and adulation to the hosts of this program.
Welcome to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. I'm a radio talk show host. You can hear my shows Monday through Friday from 5 to 9 a.m. on WVNN in Huntsville and from 10 until noon on Talk 99.5 in Birmingham. With me, as always, Mecca Music. She is the CEO of 256 Today Smart News for smart people, but not smart enough to get that glare off that picture behind her. But that's okay. It doesn't matter.
You didn't give time.
We got plenty of things going on today to talk about, and we will get right to that. Our guest today is Christopher Reed. He is the host of the Daily Controversy on Talk Radio 730 AM, 103.9 FM, WUMP in Huntsville. We'll talk to him and get his thoughts on what's going on in the world today. I've got a parting shot for you about a racist embarrassment. Is it racist? I don't know. Stay tuned. We'll come back and we'll check that out later in the program. But for right now, let's go ahead and get into the 2-minute warning. All right, Mecca, let's talk a little bit about Tommy Tuberville. I remember a time not too long ago when I was sitting in a radio studio across from Tommy Tuberville, giving him a very hard time because I wasn't sold on the head coach, United States Senator thing that was going on. But boy, oh boy, was I wrong. Tommy Tuberville has been an absolute fighter, not only for Alabama as a whole, but for just general conservatism. So this guy's a guy, and for me, I think it's pretty powerful stuff. Title IX, he is leading the fight, no question about it. Space Command coming to Huntsville in Alabama. He is absolutely leading the fight. And on the border, he is right in the mix. His deals with Joe Manchin, where he's trying to get Joe Manchin to do the right thing on a lot of things, he's right there. He fights. That's what we used to hear about Donald Trump. I think Tommy Tuberville's a fighter, and he's out there. Is he doing more than you expected right now?
I think, and I would agree with you. I think a lot of people had their reservations about the coach when he was elected. I mean, he was popular, but as far as the job performance, could he go to D.C. and get it done? And I think that a lot of the naysayers have definitely been proven wrong at this point. My question for you is, not necessarily you compared him to Trump just now as a fighter, but what about as far as Shelby and getting things done?
Well, I mean, here's the thing that I was going to kind of bring this up here in a second. He is getting stuff done. He is accomplishing things, and you called him coach. And I think that just sounds so silly, personally, because he's the United States Senator. But the other senators are doing it. The other senators call him coach as well. It's
exactly.
An endearing
Everybody
quality.
Calls him coach. His staff. Yeah. I think it's part of the branding, honestly.
I don't call him coach. I call him Senator Tuberville because I have respect for the man. Here's my question for you. If the Space Command does not come to North Alabama and to Alabama, will the political elites and the media blame Tommy Tuberville because of the fighting he's been doing?
I absolutely don't think so. I think if anything, it'll show that he was up there fighting that fight.
I hope we don't find out.
I know. I don't just mean Alabama will take it like that. I don't think so.
I hope I'm wrong. And I hope that what we see is that doesn't happen. But to ding him, I bet you they will try it. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about rebates. We can also talk about tax cuts. Hell, we could use this subject to talk about a whole bunch of things that the legislature said we're going to do that don't seem to be coming out the way they were supposed to. Tax rebates were supposed to be $400. And now we're down to about $100. I don't think they're necessary at all. I think we might end up somewhere near my 35-cent prediction because we keep going down a little bit every single time we talk about it. Is it even worth doing at this point?
Listen, I think you have to do something just so I'm going to say save face, but that might not be the word I'm looking for.
No, that is it. You're right. That's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. It is an attempt to save face and say we did something. The tax cut on groceries, it's not even for in the future. They're not even laying out a parameter where if things go so great, we can go down in the future. No. They're saying no dice, not at all. We'll stop at 2 and then we can revisit it. Now, I think they might revisit it during, I don't know, an election year. That might be possible. They take off the final 2. But I think this is a token gesture. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, perhaps, yes, a token gesture. And also, do you think, or let's go back when the rebate discussion was first starting, there was widespread support, including from leadership, not just Ivy. When she came out with that number, $400 per taxpayer in Alabama, do you think that was too high? That kind of brought people back to like, oh, wait a second, let's just revisit this whole thing. And do you think if it had been a lower number, we'd be having a different conversation right now?
I think she shot for the moon, and I think that's what she was doing. And I think she decided that if I just throw this out here, maybe we'll get something. But the thing that I like the most about this is how much Kay Ivey has fought for this. Oh, wait, no, she hasn't. She hasn't said a single word about this. I mean, she has just said, these are my policies. Bye. And then that's the end of it. And I think she has kind of let her own thing languish. And I don't think that was necessary. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about cable news here for a second. This is a fun story. You got Donald Trump going on CNN after calling them fake news forever. They're one of the bad guys in his mind, and he makes that very clear. But he's brilliantly saying, yeah, I'll use your network. Absolutely. You're going to give me an audience that I can't normally touch with my own voice, not edited. Sure, I'll talk to you. I think it's a smart move. A lot of conservatives are mad. You're dealing with fake news. CNN's very smart. Yeah, I do too. CNN's being very smart here by saying ratings, please. Right?
Yes. Do you think this will be their most highest rated feature they could possibly have? I mean, because both sides are going to be wanting to watch this.
Yeah. You'll have a lot of people wanting to watch it. Caitlin Collins, an Alabama grad, she'll be hosting this thing. She's part of their new morning show, which is doing just great. So great. One of their guys got fired, and she'll be hosting this. So it should be interesting to see how Donald Trump handles and how Donald Trump looks talking aggressively to a woman under the age of 30. And if he comes out and starts trying to badger her or anything like that, how that will be perceived. This is a great idea for Donald Trump, though. Let's talk about the other thing. Tucker Carlson fired, but comes to Alabama this week. Watch a bunch of ex-journalists complain about Tucker Carlson coming here for a charity. How much are they paying him? How much are they paying him? And then they're worrying about whether it's a blight on Calhoun County and East Aboga. Is that the city he's coming to? But it's none of that thing. It's brilliant. You bring in a guy who can bring in a bunch of money for your charity for developmentally disabled adults. It's brilliant. And for someone to complain about this, just ignore it. Shut up and don't go. That's all you have to do.
Exactly. I mean, and especially like you said, it is going to bring in money for a very worthy cause and a nonprofit. And also, I think it's smart on his part too. I mean, again, I think everybody's making some good decisions out there in the media world.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson could have receded and not done anything after he got fired, even though they're still paying him for the next 18 months. But no, he said, I'm going to continue doing my events. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to put out videos. I think that's very smart. He's hot right now. And they said that ticket sales have gone up for this. They're probably going to raise a bunch of money with him being there, in addition that they never would have before. Absolutely fantastic. Now, this last thing that we're going to talk about here, I fought to get in here so hard. I've been wanting to talk about this for weeks. City manager. Yes, Madison is about to have a vote for city manager. And I thought about moving to Madison just to get a vote in this, but I wasn't so sure that I should do that because, I think it's against the law to move and do that. But so I'm not going to do that. Mecca, city manager in Madison. Madison is one of the Big 10 cities, which, by the way, what a name for a group. Let's call ourselves the Big 10. These mayors, they want to have a city manager there in Madison. The mayor is included. Is this a good thing for Madison?
It depends on who you talk to. And I wanted to also talk about, we are specific. There is an election coming up on Tuesday in the city of Madison, the 9th largest city in Alabama. But there's a statewide appeal to this story because if Homewood is also considering, they're expected to have a vote next year. I mean, you've got Mountain Brook, Vestavia Hills, Auburn, all those cities already have a city manager and are arguably pretty successful. Historically, city managers have not been that popular in Alabama, that form of government. It's where you still have a mayor, you still have a city council, but you have a city manager, a professionally trained, hired, degreed, certified person to run the day-to-day operations. Now, I've been covering this extensively for the city of Madison on 256 Today, Smart News for Smart People. You didn't say it quite as nicely as me at the beginning of the show. But it's an important issue because once they did an amendment a few years ago, because there were a lot of legislative hurdles and obstacles to get through in order to even have a vote to change your city's government and the way it's run. And that, supposedly easier now. And so more cities might be pursuing it. Now, in the city of Madison, it's been great to see so many people engaged in the discussion and talking about it. You hear me say this all the time, it's local and state, local and state. This is what matters most to your day-to-day lives. But it has been a contentious topic. What has been your take? I know you've had some callers in to some of your shows.
Yeah, I've heard a lot from people who want to talk about this. This is look, Madison is the 9th biggest city, but it's an off year, off cycle election. So it's got very little turnout, but the people that turn out are going to be the most geeked about it. And both sides are pretty jacked up about this. And like you said, there's benefits to each, there's cons to each. And I think a lot of times it comes down to we're against change, that kind of stuff. You see a little bit of that. The yes side has to make the argument that the change will be for the best. And I guess we'll see if that argument's been made.
I would say, though, a lot of the most vocal group has definitely been the no's here in this market in Madison. But I'm hearing more like from the quiet yeses. Like it's not a passion issue. And we talk about that a lot on this on this show. Like the passion issues don't necessarily get a lot of play and a lot of signs and things like that. But from when I'm talking to people in Madison about this issue, there's a lot of them like, yeah, it makes sense. Do I have it tattooed on my body or on my car, written on my car? No, not necessarily. But I think if enough of them turn out, I think it could go yes on Tuesday. We'll see.
I thought about not wearing a shirt today so you could see the tattoo. My position on city managers is underneath my jacket, but I don't have that, so you'll just have to wait. Mecca, hang on 1 second. Coming up and joining us next, Christopher Reed. He's a talk show host in Huntsville. We'll talk to him about some issues around the world and in the state of Alabama. Stay tuned. You're watching Alabama Politics This Week.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about it today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improve range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
When businesses think about where to build, they think of Alabama. But right now, there are more jobs than workers, and businesses are starting to notice. Nearly 170,000 Alabama drivers have lost their licenses because they missed payments on tickets. Support the bipartisan driver's license bill and get these folk back to work. Workers drive Alabama. When we're free to drive, we're free to work.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here, and this is my son, Grant. Now, I'm here to talk to you about Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. He's a handful, I'm a handful, and if I want to stay married, I need Top Shelf Customized Cleaning to come and take care of my house. They do an amazing job for me, and they'll do an amazing job for you. Cindy loves them. I love them. Grant loves them as well. Check them out on Facebook. Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. And don't forget, call them today, 256-417-9122. And when you talk to them, make sure you tell them Grant sent you. Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. And Mecca Music is with me as always. And our guest this week is Christopher Reed. He is a talk show host of The Daily Controversy in Huntsville in North Alabama. You can hear him from noon until 2 on 7:30 a.m., 103.9 FM, The Ump. Go check him out. It's a great show. You need to go check it out. Christopher, thank you very much for joining us. A lot happening in the state of Alabama and beyond. Let's start inside the state of Alabama. Tax rebates, tax cuts, school choice, anti-ESG bills, and you have all these things that conservatives have on their plate nationally. You're seeing happen all over the place. And the ALGOP is like, we talked about them, but they seem really hard. I don't know if we want to do that. So they've kind of fallen down on the job. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, Luke Rosiak of the Daily Wire pointed out that a lot of these red states are actually really terrible whenever it comes to conservative legislation. They'll do a lot of symbolic bills, but when it comes to bills that actually affect people's life, like school choice or ESG, they don't want to mess with it because there's going to be a little bit of pushback. So what's the point of having super majorities in both houses if the people aren't going to actually do anything? And I think that's what the voters of this state actually are worried about right now.
There's some frustration mounting. I see it on talk radio. I see it in my writing and other things that I do on social media. The frustration is real. The question is, what's the penalty? Is there a penalty? The school choice thing, look, Mecca gets on me all the time, and she'll probably jump in here in just a second, gets on me all the time because this is something I care very much about, but it seems like amongst the average layperson, they don't really seem to care too much about it. But Republicans seem to talk about it a lot, and it's happening everywhere else. Doesn't really seem like those in the legislature want to do it. And in fact, they're using games to kill it, where you take it to one committee and say, oh, let's have a vote somewhere else. But you just had a public hearing. Doesn't matter. We need to move it and have it somewhere else. That's a game. Is there a penalty for doing stuff like that?
Apparently not. I mean, sometimes we've gotten people that in the primary that were unfortunate, and I don't think that they're very Republican. But I think the real problem is that we're not putting enough leverage on these people. I mean, look at what's happening in Florida. They have less supermajorities than we do, and they're getting everything through. So if you have a dynamic leader, which we don't have in Kay Ivey, Kay's really nice, but she's not a dynamic leader, you can get all this stuff through. But since we're a little bit rudderless, and I don't know that the governor cares that much about school choice or anti-ESG, it's really hard to get some of these legislators motivated. And if they're not going to pay a penalty, until 4 years, I kind of understand their dilemma. It's just problem is that a lot of people could use that $6,000 and send their kid to an excellent school, and they're failing schools all around the state. What are we, like 47th, 48th in education? So they really need to do something quickly. And there's no reason this should happen in any red state, but especially Alabama. This should not happen here.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I'm kind of confused about why we are seeing that take place. But I think you just laid it out with the weak leadership by Kay Ivey. And weak leadership's not fair because that would imply there is any leadership. So I don't want to say weak leadership because that's a little unfair because she hasn't really done much since her state of the state. You see Will Ainsworth out more than she is, and he's talked about school choice, and he's talked about the tax cuts, and he's talked about all these things, but that still doesn't seem to be moving the football all that much, at least on those particular issues. Yes, they're doing budgets and all these other things they're supposed to do, but these meaty issues, Mecca, is it talk radio that finds it meaty and maybe the base voters that find it meaty, but nowhere else?
Like we've had this conversation, Dale. These are popular political slogans. They're slogans. It doesn't mean that anything is going to get done, but sometimes we can be surprised, like the grocery tax move through the Senate. I mean, things like that. I mean, there are surprises to be had, but for the most part, especially for you in school choice, they're saying things to make Dale Jackson happy, and then it's not going to actually happen.
Imagine if it makes me happy. What if they actually did it? Think about how happy I would be. I mean, there's a
You would
totally
be happy.
a totally different thing. Chris, let's switch gears maybe to the international stage. I know you look at this stuff too. The Russian drone thing. I ask everybody this. I think Mecca's the first person I've talked to this week that I have not asked this. The Russian drone attack by Ukraine, allegedly. False flag? Legit? You don't know? What do you think?
Well, Russia has a history of false flag operations. Whenever I see something like this happen, I always ask who stands to benefit, and that kind of helps me figure it out. Why would Ukraine, a non-nuclear nation, try to assassinate the leader of Russia, knowing that they could be eliminated for doing something so stupid? So, sure, I mean, hypothetically, is it possible? Yeah, but I don't see that happening. I think Russia would be better off trying to say something like this happened. So again, it would be the first time Ukraine's gone that deep into Russian territory. They've been very, very clear about just defending their borders, not going into Russia's. So I don't buy that Ukraine did it, but who knows?
Well, then what is the reasoning for the false flag operation? What's the reasoning? What do they want to do? What is Russia's goal here? Is this to justify something else going further, doing more?
That's what I would do. I mean, if I was Vladimir Putin, I would use that as a reason to say, like, carpet bomb Kiev or increase the war effort, or maybe use tactical nukes. We hope that never happens. But, I mean, Vladimir Putin, he's a tyrant. I don't expect that he's going to limit himself, but I still think on the nuke front, he won't do that. But I do think he's setting the stage for a more powerful advance because he's not doing as well as he anticipated a year ago. That's for sure.
Back to the United States here real quick. We've been talking about polls a lot this far out from the next presidential election. This week, we've seen a number of polls. And I always tell people, look, one poll is a snapshot. Multiple polls, that starts to make a trend. And there seems to be a little bit of a trend here. DeSantis has been getting killed by everybody. Even Republicans are now fighting him on Disney for some reason. And now you're seeing him drop down even further, Trump trouncing him. But the more interesting part about this is now Trump is above Biden in some polls. Can that continue, or is that just a moment in time, Christopher?
Look, I hope the Republican wins, whoever it is. They've already beaten Trump once. Trump's negatives are so caustic for independent and women that it's going to be really hard for him to change that, because when he first started out, he only had about a year to 18 months exposure, so they weren't able to get his negatives up that high. But after all the lies about him for 7 years, the Russia hoax, the Ukraine hoax, everything that he's had to experience, his negatives are incredibly high. And you just said that people don't pay attention to politics as much as we'd like them to. So I just don't see a way for him to win back those voters. But if he is the nominee, I hope that he does, because we cannot have a Democrat for 4 more years.
The polling, though, is like the first time I've seen, I don't remember since they've started talking about 2024 and polling it, where he is above. Is that a sign of Trump's strength or Biden's weakness?
I think it's a sign that the machine against him hasn't ramped up yet. I think that would be the main sign. The machine that will be kind of like what was deployed against DeSantis once his numbers went up. I think it's going to go up and down, and I think it's going to continue like this for many years. But I'm sorry, Christopher, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree. Biden's a terrible president. He's not even sentient that we're aware of. I mean, they just kind of bring that guy out there and he says something, he looks like an idiot. I think Americans want a guy that actually, is physically there. And the more international conflict you have, like with Sudan turning to civil war, with Ukraine, Russia increasing engagement, with China potentially invading Taiwan, as bad as Trump looks to independents and suburban women, he may look better than Biden, but I'd rather not risk it. You pick a DeSantis who's ahead many points in the swing states versus a Trump who's tied or slightly better. I'd rather go with the sure thing versus the maybe. That's how I look at politics, at least.
All right, there we go. Christopher Reed, thank you very much. The Daily Controversy on the UMP right there in North Alabama in Huntsville. Check it out. We appreciate him coming on and joining us. We'll also get rid of Mecca here as well. Thank you, Mecca. When we come back, I will have a party shot for you, and the show will get much better, I promise you. Thank you for listening and watching Alabama Politics This Week. Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Nearly 170,000 Alabama drivers have their licenses suspended because they missed payments on traffic tickets. These are moms who can't get their kids from school and dads who can't get to work. Folks just trying to care for their families. Support the bipartisan driver's license bill and get these folks back on the road. Workers drive Alabama. When we're free to drive, we're free to work.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improved range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. Thank you very much for being here. We're about to jump into the parting shot. It's a pretty important one, if you ask me. But before we do that, let me tell you about the 7 things you should be talking about today. Where every day you can go to yellowhammernews.com and read my 7 things. You can hear my 7 things there as well. But you can also sign up for an email blast where you will get the 7 things delivered directly to your email inbox every single morning around 7:30. All you got to do is go to yellowhammernews.com, sign up for my email blast, and you will get it. That is for sure. But for right now, let's go ahead and check out that parting shot. This week, my parting shot is directed at Wandalyn Gavan out of Birmingham. She's a Democrat, and she took to the House floor in one of the most embarrassing things I think I have ever seen in Alabama politics. And I want you to think about that for a second. Think about all the things we've seen in Alabama politics. This is the most embarrassing thing I think I've ever seen in Alabama politics. So, pretty bad. What did she do? She stood on the floor of the House. A member was standing across from her. That member, Kenneth Paschal, he is the lone black House Republican. And she disrespected him in a way that I've never seen before. And I can't imagine any other dynamic where this would have worked this way. She said, and she started quoting Jay-Z rap lyrics, essentially that the Republican members of the House view that representative as the N-word. And no matter how Republican he is or how conservative he is or any of that stuff, they will always view him as an N-word. Now, she didn't say the word on the floor, but she made it very clear what she meant. And she told him, you will always be one. You'll be one before you got here. You'll be one when you leave. Go watch the video. I made a Yellowhammer Now video about it on Thursday, I believe. Go watch it. It is so pathetic. Her performance is bad. The way she's talking is incoherent. The things she's saying are awful. And I got to give the ALG GOP credit. The next day, they said, hey, she needs to apologize for this. I doubt she will. I think she's looking for her Tennessee 3 moment where she gets censured, where they come out and they demand that she do something, and then she plays the race card, even though she said terrible racial things to a fellow member. It is unacceptable what she did. Every Alabamian should see what she did. Go find the video, not mine. Go find any video of this. She is absolutely embarrassing herself, her party, and the body in which she serves. We are better than this. There is no question about it. We are way better than this. Unfortunately, she is not. And that is part of the problem. And hopefully she comes to her senses, apologizes, and stops this nonsense. I'm Dale Jackson. Thank you very much for watching Alabama Politics this week. We will be back next week. Thanks for being here.